while I've got a signal, while my internet is working, I better broadcast because you never know when I'm going to be off the air. It could be any minute. Well, it's good to being able to catch up with Motorbomb and his crew for coffee this morning. Come here, little fella. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. I'll put you up. Come on. Little guy wants up on the couch and he can't jump up by himself. Come on. Here we go. Come on. Here we go. Whoa. There he is. Yeah. He said, look at me. Look at me. Got my other little fella. He is laying right here. Right over there. Don't have anything. I didn't call this special meeting for any particular reason other than I want to be on the air when I have a chance to be. And my box seems to be working. I did this last night. I'll do this now while there ain't nobody in here. I'll do my speed check, see what it looks like on the internet. Okay. "12 pings. The upload speed. Hello, Thomas Bailey. Upload speed 280 megabytes. I'm sorry, the download speed 280 megabytes. Upload speed 28. Maybe hit 29. Yep, 28 megabyte upload speed. So as long as we got a signal, we're gonna try to broadcast. Oh yeah, yeah. I may have a cold Yingling today for lunch because I'm gonna have teriyaki chicken. Yeah, I'm gonna have teriyaki chicken with rice. It's gonna be fried rice, and so a good cold bottle of beer would probably, and a frosty mug would work good. Now we're getting back into our spring weather. It's going to be in the 70s next week. 3 of the 5 days are going to be in the 70s, up to the mid 70s. And that's not a bad thing. Of course, I think Saturday is the first, so we're getting February started off good. That little guy right there, that little Colton, and there's 2-4. Yeah, buddy, didn't take long. The topic went to beer. And yeah, I intend to have me probably a cold beer with my teriyaki chicken. I made the chicken already, and today we're going to take and put it all in the skillet, the fried rice, and then fold the chicken, teriyaki chicken, into the fried rice. I was going to tell you my little puppy right there, his master He's 14 years old, was an Army guy, a good friend of mine. He was my brother-in-law, and uh, and he likes guys. Um, Now my sister took care of him after her husband died. She took care of him, but he really has an attachment. He likes to come and spend time with me. He'll come over to the door and scratch on the door, want to get in. He likes to get up here and get on the couch so he can be on with old Mack. And in the evening time, he'll get up in my arms and he'll lay a hold my arm like this. He'll lay right here on my arm and lay his little head down and just sleep. And little old Theo, see, he spends his whole life sleeping right there. That's my that's my little Theo with his little raccoon tail. There's the little raccoon tail. He's such a good little animal. Well, very optimistic about the beginning of this year. We're going to go places and do things this year. And as soon as this cold weather gets over with, and then the big change in my life is going to have fiber optics, and I'll talk about that for a few days. And this is the year that I turned 85. Staying alive at 85 is not easy to do. It's a chore. I don't take no maintenance medicines. I don't have anything I have to, to get my day started. I have to chug a bunch of these things down, and halfway through the day, you got to chug a bunch more stuff down. I'm pretty blessed in that department because medicine could eat your retirement budget up if you had to spend it all on medicine. Man, minus 13 degrees. I got a friend. He's older than I am, and he's in Val d'Or, um, 2-4. He's up in Quebec, in Val d'Or, and he's quite a bit north up there. And God, it gets cold up there. He's such a good human being. Him and his wife both are just two live wires. Almost all Americans have a great deal of fondness for Nova Scotia because they even named a car, Chevrolet Nova. I had one of them. I've had quite a few of Chevrolet. I had one of my best Chevrolets I had was a Chevrolet Caprice. It had a 427, 425 horse, 4-speed close ratio Muncie, 373 gears in the back, and all the speed geddies, all the suspension. And I bought that new out the door for $3,400 in 1966. $3,400. You pay that much for a TV today. A good brand TV is going to cost you a couple of $1,000 for a good one. Yeah, the 70 Chevrolet with the 454 in it. That was a Chevelle, wasn't it? Chevrolet Chevelle 454. I think that was the hot one in 70. Well, it had its main competitor was the Cuda, and I had a Cuda, and my Cuda could run with the best of them. I drove it across the United States several times, and tell you a little story. They had sent me from Seattle to Dobbins Air Force Base in Marietta, Georgia, and I pulled in and gassed up at this little place over in Kansas, and I was heading towards Kansas City, Missouri, and I was running about 100 miles per hour in the thing. I think it had 150 on the speedometer, but I was running about 100 miles per hour going down through there. And for whatever reason, I checked to see if I had my wallet, because the last time I had it out was at the gas station, and man, I did not have my wallet on me. And I turned around. We'd already got 75 miles from the station. Drove 75 miles back to the station. And I said, "Did I leave my wallet on the counter?" She said, No, we didn't find no wallet, because it had a thick stack of money inside of it. And because when you travel, the company would pay you in cash. The company would give you, the reason being is we were during the Cold War, and our travels could not be tracked by credit cards and stuff like that, so you paid cash. And when the company would send you on a remote location, they would give you a thick stack of cash to pay for everything you needed. And I went, oh no. And so my wife was with me, and all of a sudden I heard some commotion out there, and I looked out there, and she was holding my wallet up. She had it in her hand. And so I went running out there, and she said it had went down between the bucket seat and the shift console, and she found it down in there. Oh my God. That was a 150-mile drive, because I had to drive the 75 miles back again. That's 100. Oh my gosh, that is a lot of mileage. And we had a schedule. We was traveling on a DD 214, I believe it was. I believe the military record they give us to travel under was DD 214. And you got to be, there's a penalty for not being at the location on a prescribed time. But we made it down there. And but when I got over in Oklahoma, like I say, I was running about 100 miles per hour, and from nowhere, a Oklahoma Highway Patrol lit me up, and I was 6 miles from Fort Smith, Arkansas. And the guy come up there, and he said, "What is your big ass hurry?" And I showed him my DD 214. I said, "I've got to be in Marietta at Dobbins Air Force Base at this time right here." And I said, "I've had some issues, and I'm running a little bit behind on time, and I was trying to make it up." And so he took a look at my DD 214, and he said to me, he said, "I'm going to go back here and get in my car and just drive away. But let me tell you this, you'll never get through Arkansas. Please slow it down, because they will put you in jail in Arkansas, and you won't make you'll have to pay a penalty." So he said, "I'm cutting you a break." And he let me go. I had me for 106 miles per hour, in which he should have taken me to jail, but he didn't. But back in the military days, America kind of turned its head when it come to American GI, and didn't mess with them a lot. And we were working for the government, so we had all kinds of credentials. We had our card that we traveled under. It didn't give us a whole lot of protection. They could arrest you, but most patriotic people would say, you're on a mission. You got to get your thing done. Oh, did my thing go off or am I sitting here talking to myself? Can y'all still see me? I never did. Oh, good. Oh, thanks, 2-4. I never did. I never did get stopped in Arkansas, but I did get stopped in Missouri. That Missouri highway patrolman was really nasty to me because he didn't buy the story about patriotism and none of that stuff. They're kind of like anti-patriots. They don't particularly like military people. Well, there's so much. See, we were putting missiles in Missouri, and a lot of people did not like to have missiles in their back door, especially the kind that had potentially 10 million tons of TNT on one of them. They was afraid if something went wrong, it would wipe out Springfield, Missouri. Everybody a little bit afraid of them things for some reason. I don't know what that's all about, but they were. Those never accidentally just blow up, so you don't ever hear about a ICBM just up and blowing up. It has the potential if everything comes together right. One time I was in the silo. It was on a Saturday morning. They called me up. I had Whiteman Air Force Base and said, come out to this particular silo. We got an issue. So I went out there and went down to the second level. That's 35 feet underground. You go down through a tube we call a PAH, Personnel Access Hatch. So I went down to PAH, got down there, and there was a whole bunch of military guys all around. And so on the wall, we have the lunch. Everything down there is in a circular fashion. So this big J panel, junction box panel, was around the curvature of the silo. And so I'm standing there, and they went to open the big door up. They had to swing the big door up. Well, I started walking backwards. So as the door was coming towards me, a big old hand grabbed me right here on the shoulder. Big old strong hand. I looked over at that guy, and it was an AP. They were special AP. And he had his little M16, and he was looking at me. He said, "Stop!" So I went. I mean, I don't know why he's squeezing my shoulder and hollering to stop at me. And then he kind of turned his head and looked down, and right behind me was a 180-foot drop. They had what's called the diving board. See, they opened the side of the silo, the lunch tube liner. They opened the lunch tube liner up, and they drop out a diving board. They can walk out there where the warhead is and put the warhead package and all that stuff. But they had the diving board down. And so another step or two, and old Mack would have been taking the big plunge. I'd have went to the bottom of the deep hole. And it would have been nasty. But I'm so glad the guy was there. His job was to watch the hole. When they had the diving board down, he was not to let any craft people or anybody that's working had the authority to be there. He didn't want them to fall into the deep hole. And he did a good job. He saved old Mac. Because I was walking back, didn't want that door to hit me as they swung that door open. And got in there. Why they called me, what they call me. We have a thing when you mount stuff onto the lunch tube onto the wall of the second level. They use a stud gun, and this stud gun is a great big heavy. It weighs 30 pounds, and it's got a big heating coil, and it's got a big electrical transformer and all that stuff built in. You hold on to it. You got to be a man to hold it, and you load up your studs, and you push it to the wall, and it's got a collar. And when your collar goes in and that stud touches the wall, it shields you from any glare. That collar protects light from coming out, but it welds the stud onto the lunch tube, onto the metal wall, and it's got a ceramic collar around it, and then when they pull back from it, it breaks the collar, and you got a beautiful bead of weld all the way around that stud. What had happened? They was a sort of a separation between one layer of steel and another, and when they put the stud, it happened to come right on that separation. Well, one side let go, and anyhow, when they did, we have a deal where everything has to meet EMP standard, like all your conduit throughout the whole facility, 6 miles of conduit inside each IBM facility. Every union has to be welded. Every union has to be spot welded, not welded all the way around it, but spot welded. And once you put it up there, it stays up there. But all the unions and all your couplings has to be welded, because when a nuclear, the splitting of the atom occurs, it puts out a thing called electromagnetic pulses, EMP. If it's really close by, you could have particles that extremely hazardous to your health. But these EMPs, if you've got a threaded coupler, a union with a big collar on it, a union, that plumber's union, the threads inside that union will actually arc. The EMP will arc between the threads, and that would cause an interference, and that could affect the guidance system while it's the umbilical cord is plugged into the missile. It could affect the commands given from the LCF, Launch Control Facility, and you may have a failed start or something. So you have to weld all of your unions to keep EMPs from affecting, because if you got incoming Russian missiles coming in or Chinese missiles, they're going to be a lot of EMPs in the area. So all threaded surfaces have to be. Hello, Sick. Now I am not. I looked over and checked. I didn't see anybody running a page or nothing. No, I'm just sitting there talking about the old days when we used to play with some really good hardware. That was a different time that we lived in. It's hard to imagine. Hello, Ed. Oh my God, Ed, it's so good. You're the guy, man. You're my hero, buddy. You have such fantastic stories to tell. You have such beautiful children. Your family, your sons, son and daughter. I both really love both of them. But I mean, you got a big family, but they're involved in aviation, so that's a reason I have a special fondness for them. Or they were involved in it. We'll see you later, buddy. Yeah, I'd like for you guys. Two four lives in Nova Scotia, and I was just telling 2-4 about you living up there in Valdor, and the Valley of Gold. And I remember we exchanged gifts one time. I sent you a. Oh God, I hate to hear about her falling. I just hope she recovers soon. I know she will. Yeah, I sent Ed a box of habanero peppers. I believe I did dried habaneros. I sent arrowheads. Yeah, I remember your arrowheads. Yeah, oh, that's right. I sent arrowheads too. But you sent me garlic, and I had garlic here for like 5 or 6 years. But something happened. I followed the same protocol, and not only did I lose the garlic, but we had so many things. We were down to 8 degrees for quite a while. I don't know if it froze. It might be what done it. But here you living up in Valdor and your stuff grows like unbelievable. Yeah, as we can tell you, when we got this place here, I spent the first few years picking up arrowheads. There was a big Indian encampment here 500 years ago. This is what the people that study this stuff, they said these Indians, 500 years ago, they had this whole Sullivan Creek area and a large village, and the rock that they used for making the arrowheads came from Tennessee. And traders, the Indian trading Indians, would come down with bags of rocks, and these Indians down here would trade furs, muskrat, and raccoon furs and all that stuff for the to the Indians to the north, and they would make these arrowheads, and you'd find these fire pits where they heat the rock, they get the rock hot, and then they take a skin and soak it in water, and they drip this water on this hot rock, and they chink out places. Every time it would hit that flint like rock, it would chink out a place, and that's how they formed it, by dripping water on these things. And they would spend hours making them. Of course, they also chipped them off of other stones. Ed's got some of the best garlic in the world. And Ed is that, y'all remember back in most of you kids are going to be way too young to remember this, but back in the 70s, I guess it was, that little old wine drinker, me, there used to be a commercial said that little wine drinker, me. Well, Ed was the little wine maker. I believe he made his out of gooseberry wine is one. I guess he used grapes and everything, but I remember. I tell you, one of my fondest memories, Ed, of you is when you and your fishing buddies would go up there to that big lake, and y'all would get all them fish up there. You had some good fishing buddies. Well, I think I live vicariously through you guys, the one that does all these wonderful things, live in these beautiful places like 2-4 there, yourself in Valdor. We've got friends that live up in other portions of Canada, up in the northern portion of Blueberry and Chokeberry. Yep, I remember the Chokeberry, Raspberry, and Sake. I remember, did I tell you the story about a girlfriend? I went and I picked me a girlfriend up at the Pendleton Rodeo. I used to like these little cowgirl heifers, and I'd go to these rodeos, and I was a cowboy in those days, and I'd find me a sweet little heifer. And yeah, I found this little girl. She was from Alberta, Canada, and she loves sloe gin, and I never even heard of it. So she said, "Get me a bottle of old Mr. Boston's sloe gin made out of sloe berries, and it's blue, purple looking. It's like drinking. It's really syrupy. So I went and got her a bottle of old Mr. Boston, slow gin. Well, she got too deep into that bottle, and we were out there way out in the desert of central Washington, halfway between Pendleton and Calgary, and she had to go to the bathroom. Well, there's no bathrooms out there. There wasn't no place to go. So I stopped the car and she got out of the car. There was no traffic. And when she went out there to try to squat, she fell over. And old Mac had to go out there and hold her up. And I held her little old legs up and she put her head on my shoulder here. And I held her up so she could pee. Now she was peeing back between my legs. But while she had her head on my shoulder, she upchucked the old Mr. Boston Slow Gin right down the back of my new shirt. I'd paid a pretty, cowboys back in them days like to wear them pretty shirts, and I bought me a nice shirt at the Western shop, and she done upchucked there on my shirt. Yeah, the old saying back in them days was candy is dandy, but liquor is quicker. And I remember Ad too. You used to walk down to your favorite watering hole there in Valdor and have you a big schooner of your favorite beverage. You've lived a good life, man. I'll tell you. You made it seem like a Norman Rockwell scene when you'd walk down to the pub. It was like a Norman Rockwell scene. I could graphically in my mind envision the snow and the ice and all that stuff, and entering into that warm pub to get a cold beer, cold drink, or whatever. You've lived a good life. Well, you provided great memories. How about our friend Andy? Ad, could you tell us anything about Andy? How's Andy doing? I haven't received anything back from him for about a year now, or 6 months or 8 months. It's been a while. I know Nancy wasn't doing as well the last time I heard, but I thought of him last night when we had a plane to hit a helicopter last night and fell there in the Potomac. All souls lost. And I've thought of Captain Andy and all the flights. I been a captain on the 777 for United. Yeah, Nancy had a health problem last time, and I know how time consuming that'd be. All we can do is just offer our prayers for Nancy, and then just hoping that Andy stays well. Andy was a guy that kept us all together, you might say, in a lot of ways. And how about Norm in California? I'm sure Norm has expired probably by now. You remember one time when he was in his 90s, he drove all the way from California all the way up in Washington, back through Idaho in his 90s. I just hope the best for him. And if he's still with us there, man, he's got some staying power. We know we lost Minnesota Bob, but I think Minnesota Bob was like 104 when he left, and he was a man right up to the end. I love that guy. Oh, Minnesota Bob can make you feel good about yourself. And Beltway Bob, we had Beltway Bob, lived in Washington, D.C. When Beltway Bob would come on the air, he was just a fun-loving character. Uh, Minnesota Bob was he was a man's man. And old Andy being a Navy pilot, jet fighter, flying on aircraft carriers, um, he was Superman. C 24 and And Thomas, you see the kind of people I've had in my life. Me and Ed, we go back a long time ago. And somewhere along the line, there's a plaque in Pensacola at the Navy facility. It's got our names on it. Got me and Ed, Andy, Beltway Bob, Minnesota Bob, Norm. We had a thing, International Association of Airline Hams. If you had aviation, a history of aviation, or one time we used to tease them, the only way you could get into the International Association of Airline Hams, you had to one day in your life, none verified, have looked up in the sky and actually seen the airplane. You qualified. As you can see, Ed, has not a lot changed in the last 30 years with me. I'm the same bullshit artist I was 30 years ago. You remember? Hello, Robert. You remember when we were attacked? You know, our country was attacked, and I think it was 2001. Yeah, September 11th. You remember how I went ballistic on the air? I got so mad, and the FCC wrote me a letter and threatened to remove my license because I went ballistic on the air. Now today, I could have that same level of being ballistic and going crazy, and they wouldn't even be a fart in the dark compared to what goes on around you. But mine was all about patriotism, and I truly was upset. And I apologize many a time for my behavior on the radio about my country being attacked. Because you got to keep in mind, I was born, so was you, Ad. You and I both were born before World War II. We was born before World War II. And so was I don't know. I think Andy might have been born before it too. I think he was born in that area. I know Norm out in California. He was born before World War II. Oh, buddy, thank you 2-4 for coming in. And when Ed come in, we just had to catch up on. We don't get to talk all that much, and when he comes over on my page, I really appreciate him coming over and joining in. And I'd like to share him with you guys because Ed is a part of the world. He's one of the many people that has made the world better. Not just America better, but the world better. Minnesota Bob made the world better. It would be nice after you leave this earth, people say, you know, he made the world better. Well, I'm telling Ed while he's here and he can hear it with his own ears, he's one of the guys that has helped to make the world better. And I thank you. Baby, I've already had a second cup of coffee. Oh, say hello to Ed. Ed's in here. You have to hump her down a little bit.
Hi, Ed.
And don't forget, Margaret. Oh, Margaret, she fell.
Oh, no. Are you okay?
No, she's not. Better. She's not okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah, talk to her, and she's there.
Sweetheart, I'm sending you some good vibes. We love you and we miss you.
And your 95 years has been our rewards. Well, she said Good. You sent good vibes to Margaret,
Yeah,
right?
good vibes and hugs and kisses.
All right, go do what you got to do. But that's
You want to hear something stupid?
yeah. Go ahead and tell me something.
Okay. So I'm expecting my package to arrive yesterday, right?
Yeah. All right.
Out for delivery. Great. We get back from running our errands. Fine. Get the mail. Open the mailbox. Where the hell's my package, dude? Turns out I looked on the thing this morning, the UPS package this morning.
Yeah.
They sent it back to Birmingham.
Oh.
They could have just sent it back to the post office and then tried again today.
I don't know.
Has that ever happened to anybody of you?
Well, we've
If
seen
it
some weird
has-
things. We live in the woods.
If it has, I feel your frustration because that's the first time that has happened.
Now listen to this. My job is to whine and complain about everything. Now you go ahead and go on and get. Nobody wants to hear you whining.
Hey,
go on and get.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no coffee for you.
no,
No coffee for you.
And she threatened to cut my coffee off if I made her go on and get.
Again, no coffee for you. But I had to vent off my frustration somehow.
Your little dog is waving at me. She had to get her frustrations out. She had a package she's been waiting on, and the package made it all the way, but they sent it all the way back to Birmingham, and now it's going to be coming out again. It's a week trip. Birmingham is 34 miles away, and it takes a week for a package to get from Birmingham out to here. 1 week.
That is my vent of the day.
All right. We've heard it, girl. Get on out of here. Oh man, that is yeah, go on geek. that that is a wonderful thing. Ruth, she delighted when I would get up in the morning. She'd been already got up, and when I would, she knew my. Remember, we used to get on International Association Airline hams early in the morning, and she'd have that coffee in here, and she loved all you people. I'm telling you, she knew she loved every one of you, and um, she certainly is missed. It just seemed like something just didn't work out right there. She was vibrant, full of health and alive, and she was so educated. She made me feel as dumb as a day old chicken when she'd talk to me. I just felt like I was dumber than a day old chicken. Not that she talked down to me, except she'd be talking about things I had no damned idea. I don't know theater. And she'd be telling me about something in a theater, something that was going on, some play or some musical. She had so much talent. Oh my God. Yeah, you starting that. I only named the ones that stuck in my memory because I had such fun memories of Norm out there in Northern California and Minnesota Bob, of course. He his whole family, and we watched so much going on in his family over the years. His young son Robert. Yep, Bob from Minnesota. We call him Minnesota Bob. He was he was from don't tell me. He was from Ivanhoe, Minnesota. Bob was from Ivanhoe, Minnesota. He told us he went to Arizona and bought an airplane when he was 75 years old and flew that airplane from Phoenix, Arizona up to Ivanhoe, Minnesota. And Beltway Bob, uh, yeah, he was really good. I remember originally when we first started out a long time ago, there was quite a bit of protocol on the International Association Airline hams. And we followed that protocol, but then it began to get a little bit lighter and people began to loosen up a little bit. And And it was a laugh session. We had a lot of laughs. Your children have such talent. Elizabeth, oh my God, I got her CD down here. I got her CD. I've used her in so many musical videos that I've done over the years. I've used her background music. You remember when she had her brought her album out? Such talent. What were some of the favorite characters you remember from those days, Ed? Robert, let me tell you this. This is not a statement of bravado or braggadocio. Doses. I was married 5 times, and 4 of the 5 have passed on. And I referred to the 4 that has passed on. I dedicated a song by Willie Nelson, "The Angels That Flew Too Close to the Ground." I love the 4 women, and they were the angels that flew too close to the ground, and I was able to hold them. Well, you'll understand. Ed has an angel. You're very fortunate, Robert. You have an angel. Ruth and I, we put in 33 years, and God Almighty, Ed, tell us how many years you and Margaret. How many years? And you know there you've went through thick and thin in your life, and no couples ever going to be. It was something that was absolutely maintenance free. Didn't have to do anything. It was a run its own. 66 years with his wife. And she's a lovely lady, Robert. Ed has a lovely woman, and they're all so creative. The whole family is creative. Sometimes you might find 1 or 2 in a family that has talent, but these fly airplanes, big commercial planes, and they make craft, and they Ed is a gardener extraordinaire. And he's the little old winemaker. Ed's saying is, not only do I make the wine, but I drink the wine. And garlic, he plants garlic. He's got garlic, big bulbs of garlic that is to die for. I should have been an Italian. We eat so much garlic here. We're like spaghetti eaters. Well, congratulations, Ed, 66 years. Um, that's quite an achievement. Yeah, we've tried our hand. We made some good beer here. My mother was so good. When I was young, it was called homebrew. That's beer that you made at your own home. Oh, August the 9th, 67 years. Oh, yeah. One should just look around if you want to see your richness. It don't have to. It don't have to be. It don't have to be a form of these. These are things that's made by man and printed. Um, they they um, they make them in a machine, print them. But how could you measure the quality of a flower? Uh, how about the warmth of a hand that you love, whether it be your mother, your wife, your daughter, and holding your son's hand? Money is a necessary evil, and there's those that take their money and turn it into evil. And then there's those that use the money to get them through life, and not only get themselves through their lives, but other people through their lives, your children, your family members, friends. Oh, I remember another thing, Ed, that you told me, and I was so inspired by this. Oh, I believe it was you. Oh, I could be confused. Didn't you come down to Louisiana? Didn't you travel down to Louisiana? I have another friend that lives in Labrador, and they really love they like the Arcadian people or the Cajun people. But I think you made a trip down to Louisiana, and you got to hear Zydeco music, or I may have you confused with my friend that lives in Labrador. Yeah, look at it. Look at this guy. Look, gold, man. Yeah, and it's got the same paper. Um, yeah, yeah. When we was young, we'd get Canadian. We lived in Washington for 40 years. Hello, Ben Tipton. Oh man, we're having a great day. What's made it great? We've had two four in here, and Robert is in here. Six men in here. We got my friend Ed up in Val-d'Or, Quebec, and me and him goes back a long, long time. And we have both of us have a something. He's 95 years of age, and I'll be 85. So he's 10 years older than me, and he's got a better memory than I do. I can recall stuff, but um, and I think he's in better physical health than I am. He gets around good. God Almighty, I hope I'm getting around when I'm 95 years of age. Um, we have that in common. We have longevity, and we have love of life, and we love our fellow humans. Not all of them pleases us, but you got to take the good with the bad. And it's your job is to try to find something good in the bad. If you can do that, just makes your world better. I take a lot of vitamins. I take ester C, and I take a vitamin D complex, one of them little capsules. I was taking magnesium, but I give up on it. I quit taking it for a while. I got to let the body can only handle so much magnesium. Yeah, 85, and my buddy RC Ed, he's 95, and he's he's doing good. Um, That's because I didn't grow up until much later. See, I was doing crazy stuff till I was 50. In fact, Ben, I got married when I was 50 to my fourth wife. Whoa, wait a minute. My apologies. I got married when I was 50 to my fifth wife, and I got married when I was 40 to my fourth wife. The sad part about there's a lot of older men that has a lot to say, but most people won't give them a time of day or listen to anything they have to say because they're afraid that they'll start rambling. And I find myself rambling quite a bit also, but um, I always enjoyed listening when I was with the International Association of Airline Hams. We had a lot of older guys, and I was the new kid on the block. Ed remembers when I showed up. When the first time I showed up with that group there, I was a new kid on the block. They got used to me pretty quick. Well, kind of take a look at this, Ben. Um, we were here before the transistor. Most of us was here before TV was ever even heard of. Most of us was here before. We come from what's called the silent generation. You was only allowed to be and only allowed to speak when asked to speak. You didn't have the freedom of just spouting your opinion about nothing. We were the silent generation. Oh, the old guy lived on the south coast of the Gulf. Oh yes, I know. Oh yeah, I almost got him. He lived down. He lived down there. He got hit by a hurricane. You remember the hurricane come in and took 100. That was Dale from Loosedale. Hey, how about that now, Ed? Dale. Dale from Loosedale. Am I correct? All right. Okay. The old memory work. Dale from Loosedale, Mississippi. What another wonderful gentleman. Dale was he was just a real good guy. And you remember I had a couple of friends in from Washington State. He would check in with us occasionally. Him and his wife had 90 years at the Boeing Company. Him and his wife worked 90 years at the Boeing Company. Big money. That was not Walter, Raleigh from Bunny Lake, Washington. Him and his wife had 90 years at the Boeing Aircraft Company, pulling in the big chump change, man. Haven't heard from him in years. The problem being, people our age, and Ed can tell you this. Yeah, Dale was a really good. He joined our group. Dale came and joined the Alabama DayNet here in Alabama. He joined in before he passed. He joined us on the Alabama DayNet, and he talked with us. He never had a good station after the hurricane took all of his station down and destroyed everything. It took him a hard time. He never got built back right. Oh, look at this. Your memory. Let me tell you, folks, Ed just brought back a good point. Dale used to fly from the Gulf of Mexico down to Panama, and he would take this seaplane and he'd go down and he'd load it full of bananas. He would take cargo down to Central America and load it full of bananas and bring it back to America, Chiquita bananas. Chiquita bananas. Yeah. Yeah, PAA. Oh, that's right. Yeah, Dale and let me see, the guy that flew the boat. Oh, man, I think Dale was the radio man on that banana boat. Dale was the radio guy. Oh, back in the day, everybody had a preference, and if you was going to eat a banana, it's going to have the little Chiquita banana sticker on the banana because it meant quality. Um, yeah, Chiquita banana. They was a Latin dancer, Marita Marina. Oh, I almost had it there. Rita Marino, and she would do Latin dances, and she had a big hat on her head, and it had fruits and vegetables and bananas and stuff. That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. And she was really entertaining. Uh, Carmen Miranda. I thought it was Carmen Miranda, or was it? Yeah, it could have been Carmen. There was a Marita Miranda. Carmen is probably correct. She had a fruit basket on her head. A lot of good memories. You start taking a trip down memory lane, and yeah, I remember the innocent times of the 40s and the 50s after the war, after World War II, after the Korean War. A lot of soldiers came home and they started building, getting in business, making hot rods. That's what made the IAH a hit. Everybody looked forward to getting on in the morning because not only did they get to hear their stories, but they got to tell their stories, and everybody got a shot at. Nobody was nobody was ever put down. They listened, and yeah, they were really a good get together of. They should have been a book written about that organization because in the aviation world, it made the world so much smaller. Look at your son. He would load that airplane up full of Muslims, and it would be just as full of Muslims as you could get that thing packed in there, and fly them all the way to Mecca. That's my clock on the wall, and I've had that for over 25 years. Robert, Ad's son there has over 23,000 hours of flight time. And he would tell us about his adventure when he would fly to Mecca. And you got to keep in mind, most people was really terrorized. Um, the mere thought of having a Muslim on the airplane, and he'd load that thing as far as from front to back. And he didn't do any loading. He was the captain. He was the guy flying. Yeah, he. How many? Uh, Ed, do you have any idea how many flight hours? Elizabeth, how many did she log? And your daughter, how many flight time hours did she have in her career? Did she ever mention a number? It's got to be way up there. Oh, from the Philippines. Oh, what a place to lay over. what a I have so many Filipino friends. You know, our boy there married a Filipino lady, and um, I yeah, it would be hard. I mean, God Almighty, that's a lot of flying. Yeah, to Mecca. They have to go to Mecca. It's a journey they make every year to, and their religion. They make that trip, and it's such a huge thing. When you're talking about a billion people, a billion people of a single religion, all having to get to that place to, try to make it in their lifetime to Mecca. And in 25 years, she had to log up a lot of time. Hey, Raymoto. I saw y'all up there in Walmart. I was so afraid that I was going to turn my TV on over there and I'd go, this week, Karen of the Week. And you're over there trying to pull people apart, and two old girls having a throwdown, and they done thrown coke all over the place, and snot all hanging out of their nose, and their bloomers are sticking up in the air, and you over there trying to pull them apart. And that would have been beautiful. That would have been a video. So obviously you made it safely out of there. And my dear friend, and a lot of people can use that term, my dear friend Ed. You are the dearest of friends, and I cherish your friendship. I don't say this in a term of trying to get on your good side because I need something from you. I just need your love, and I always feel assured that I have it. And likewise, give Margaret a big hug for us. You have so much, so the reason you're 95 years of age, you have so much to live for. Man, you would let down a whole lot of people if you let go of that grip of reality and slide on into another world. Hang in there, my dear friend. You're seeing a gentleman leave my show this morning, Ed from Val-d'Or, Quebec, that helped to make the world better. Lyle Lovett. Lyle Lovett, he was a professional liar, man. He could tell a lie, and if the lie didn't work out, he could alter it to make it work. No, your success at Walmart is trying not to make eye contact. Get in there and get it done. I have run across some really good people at Walmart. I was at a Walmart a few years ago, and I come around the corner, and there was this little gray-headed man and little woman, And that was the first time I'd met him in the public, and I'd been knowing him for 25 years. And he didn't know me, but I heard him speaking. I heard his voice. The minute I spoke to him, he called me by name. Neither one of us had ever met one another. We were on the radio where you don't see one another. We're here on TV where we can see one another, but on the radio, we'd been friends for 25 years, and I meet him at Walmart. Well, Ben, the reason we go to Walmart, basically, that is the only store within 14 miles of me. It's 14 miles away. And so we're kind of like that. It's either go there. Now we try not to buy meat. Now there's another store I go to. It's called Piggly Wiggly, and they got the best meat. They buy locally grown pork and beef, and it's processed for Piggly Wiggly. It ain't coming from China or Honduras or Guatemala or anywhere like that. It's grown here in America. Piggly Wiggly's prices are a little bit higher than anybody else, but you just get a better quality than what you get over at Walmart. Now, stuff that's grown in America like Kellogg's, Corn Flakes, and they for cereals and stuff, we buy them over at Walmart. We can get if Costco was closer to me, I'd do all my shopping at Costco. But it's 60 miles away from me. Hey, Tony, Alabama. I had a very good friend that lived in Tony, Alabama, and he's deceased now. I went to see him, and he was laying there in the bed, and I had my camera rolling because I wanted his friends to be able to see him, his last moments of life. And he was looking up at me, and he started to crying, and he wanted to go home. My buddy Joe wanted to help me break him out of the facility, the nursing home, but he was suffering from dementia, and he lived there in Tony. I've been to his house. I took my drone and I flew all around his place. He's got a pretty nice place up there at Tony, all of his towers. He had a nice daughter. I think they only had the one child. We have a good meat shop. We do. It's up in Coleman. It's 22, 23 miles from here. It's called the Brickyard. And we've bought a lot of meat up there. Now, when my friend Wesley, I had a friend named Wesley Baker. He was he grew cattle and hogs and stuff on his farm in Holly Pond. He had a lot of land over. I think, well, not a lot. He had 26 acres. And he used to take the brickyard would come out to his house with the processing truck and process his beef right there at his house, and then take it and freeze it and pack it and do all that stuff and cut it up in 1 pound packages or whatever. And so it was really good as far as the farmer is concerned. And if you wanted the fresh meat, that's the way to get it, right there at the brickyard. Yeah, there's two Piggly Wigglies in our area. We've got one that's about 15 miles from here over in Dora, Alabama. And the other one is in Warrior, Alabama. And we go to the Warrior store because it's closer. And they're really nice people. In fact, you might have seen on some of my videos, I wear the Piggly Wiggly shirt. I bought the Piggly Wiggly shirt. It's got the red pig, the little soldier's got his little hat on his head, the little pig with a hat on his head. And see, that Piggly Wiggly was really around during World War II. A&P and Piggly Wiggly and Bruno's and a lot of the stores we had back in those days, they were the front runners of supermarkets. When I go to Summerton, the man that owns the Piggly Wiggly store in Summerton, in Dora, he also owns a grocery store in Summerton called Sorensen's. And it's a little and it's only 3 blocks or 4 blocks away from Walmart, and it holds its own against the big giant. Yeah, we have a lot of Piggly Wigglies down here. We got 2 within driving distance, and we go to them here. We like the Piggly Wiggly milk and the Piggly Wiggly eggs. Yeah, there's a lot. We do a lot of shopping at Piggly Wiggly. In fact, I've got videos of me going to Piggly Wiggly to go shop on the Harley. We go shopping on the Harley so we can save money because you can only haul so much back. I do too. I like giving support to the smaller business. I don't have any goals of trying to put anybody else out of business, but I do like to support local business. Always have. There was a tire store in Warrior that was run by black people, a young black man and a young black woman. They were a man and wife, and they had the tire store. I think it was a chain. It was one of those discount tire, and so I had a slow leak in the tire, and nobody could. They said, "Oh, we can't find the leak" or whatever. And this guy took it over and he broke the tire down. And it was a good tire. It was on the truck. It was a Michelin. He put a white glove on, and he ran around on the inside of that tire, and then he felt a snag. And then when he got down closer and looked, like a wire brush, industrial type wire brush probably had fell off a truck or something. One of those bristles had went through the tire, and he pulled it out, and it was about that long, just a tire. And it was such a slow leak. It took it months to go down, but it was always that warning light would come on. And he found it, and he put a patch on the inside, and we still have the tire. I just got through making a 6,000-mile trip with that same tire that he put that patch on, all the way to Washington and back. 6,000-mile round trip. And nobody else would fix it. And, oh, no, it's against the law. You can't do that. Oh, no. And he come from the generation of people like myself that we booted everything when we was young. we booted tires and all that stuff, put a boot inside the tire, and now it's against the law, but it still works. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't think about putting a recap tire on a trike or any kind of a bike. Um, it's going to be the best rubber. I don't mind spending money on my bike. Yesterday I just bought a battery for my Harley. It was I could. It came to almost 180 for the battery, and for my truck, I got a 3 or 4 year warranty on the one in my truck, and it's a great big old battery, and I only paid like 150 for it, or maybe less, for a quality battery. But for a Harley, why they cost so much, I don't know. I guess because they're a tall battery. They're a tall battery, tall and wide. They don't have the wide like this. They're a tall battery, and this one has high cranking amp hours and all that kind of stuff. I bought a good battery. I bought it as good as I could get. And I got it over there at O'Reilly's. No, I'm going to tell you, one time we took a ride around the Lake of the Ozarks, and we all met up in Appleton City, Missouri. And there was 30 or so riders, and one of the guys showed up on a new Gull Wing. It was a brand, in fact, that was in '79, so the Gull Wing hadn't been around very long. And this was 1,000 cc Gull Wing, and we was all out there getting ourselves all ready and organizing what roads we're going. We didn't have GPS, and we didn't have nothing back in them days. You would say which roads we're going to go on, and everybody followed. You always had a leader, somebody to lead us out, and so we was all gathered up over there. And his front tire, when we left Appleton City, you could see the cords in his front tire. And I pointed out to him, he was an engineer that they sent out from Seattle, and he rode his Honda down, but the tire was bald. And I told him, I said, man, we're going to be riding for 2 days around the Lake of the Ozark. It's a 2-day ride around there, and a lot of this kind of stuff like this. Oh, hey, what a ride. He said, I think it'd be all right. And believe it or not, he made it all the way around. And we had a guy on a Fat Bob Harley. We got down at the bottom, down there by the Arkansas state line, we was pretty close to the Arkansas line. And we was going through this little town, and we all had to make a sweeping right-hand turn to go up onto a road heading to the east. And when we made the turn, he was the leader. The Harley was the leader on that day. I mean, he was the bike that was in charge. He had a car right in the driver's door. She pulled out from the gas station. And I thought there was going to be a riot, because all of us all gathered up and we all began to park. And he come out there and he had his hand on his gun, this little police guy in that town, and threatened all, get back, I'll blow your head off. He was. Everybody tried to explain to him. She pulled out in front of him, and he was guilty automatically because he was a bike rider, one of them old shifty-eyed Harley bike riders, And the guy at the Chevron station there, he come walking over. He saw the whole thing. He said, this gentleman right here was making his turn when she pulled out in front of him. The case closed. That wasn't good enough for the cop because the lady, he knew her really well. They went to the same church. And that criminal guy on that motorcycle, somebody ought to get a rope and let's have a hanging right here in this little town. You know, that's right there near the Arkansas line. And wow, we thought we was all going to end up going to jail that day because we had made up our mind we were going to take that little town if we had to and take that guy with us because he didn't do any harm. He didn't hurt himself, and he bent. No, he didn't even bend his. That tire hit. He bent her door in because we wasn't going fast, just rolling up, making a rolling turn there. And anyhow, that little Jake Leg Law and the ugly people that was around there, you know, come out of all them little houses all around like a bunch of piss ain'ts, you know. But we made it on the complete journey. And it was a good turnout. That's one of those roads that I had a crotch rocket and you could drag the pegs on the turns. And the guy that was in front of me, he was leading on that particular day and I was following him. And I saw this trail of fire coming off when he was dragging his kickstand or whatever, and the foot pegs, and I thought that was so cool until I got up on my pegs and the rear wheel lifted off the pavement, and I skidded on metal and concrete. In other words, now you don't have any rubber traction; you're just metal against concrete or asphalt. And I skidded over, and it finally caught a little bit. Now I could have high-sided had it caught wrong. But I had my torque up on the engine, so when it touched down, I was able to cut on back and I went, oh, buddy, I'm never going to follow a guy that when I begin to see him dragging his pegs, I'm going to ease back a little bit because dragging the pegs is cute. And it makes people behind you like, whoa, man, he knows how to ride. But one miscalculation and you can lose your bike right there, you know. But we were young. I was 39 years old. 79, yeah, 39 years old. Relatively young. When I drove over the road, the company I drove over the road, most everything was outfitted with recaps, except the steering tires. And I think some of them guys back there in the back, when they were changing out wheels, you never knew what you was going to get. And you always I always checked my tire to make sure I didn't have recaps on the steering tire. Well, that's what we call all these little skinny necked law people that lived over there in Missouri. They they was they had to create a necessity for them to have a job. Nothing ever happened in that little town. There was no crime. So when a bunch of hardcore bikers come riding in, not wearing leathers, just good old boys on crotch rockets, um, you got to make a showing. Let the people know that, thank God we had the law that day, Because if it didn't have the law on that day, that biker group would have took our town, and hell, they could have held us hostages. No telling, they might have raped all of our women. You know how they are. Yeah, well, they didn't have a walk like Mr. like Chester. You know, that remind me. Hey, buddy, Ben, you are always welcome to come here and sit on the front porch of me and spit tobacco. I'll even give you some brown mule to chew, you know. And when I was a little boy chewing brown mule was the chewing tobacco that you bit off a chunk of brown mule. And you got it over in here, right over in here. You could spit some good snuff. It's chewing tobacco. Yeah, we had some good times. Yeah, you'd run across the little lawmen, and they had to create the necessity for them to stay in their position. Because if the city council would meet and they hadn't had a crime in 10 years, they go, why are we paying this lawman over here to be a lawman when uh, there's no crime? That's like Mr. Dillon had his sidekick Chester. And Chester had a bad. His leg was. He always walked with a limp. Chester did. Chester come running into the jailhouse, and he was hollering. He was hollering, "Mr. Dillon, Mr. Dillon, Mr. Dillon, you better get your tail over to the Long Branch." There's something going on at the Long Branch, and Chester wanted Dillon to know about it. Mr. Dillon, get your tail over to the Long Branch." And Mr. Dillon was a whole lot laid back. And he'd say, "Why, take it easy, Chester. Where do you think I've been getting my tail all these years?" Him and Miss Kitty. That was my first Matt Dillon joke. Miss Kitty. That was Matt Dillon's squeeze. What a horrible, tragic life she lived. She ended up marrying a homosexual guy, and I believe it gave her AIDS. Oh, you can look all this up. The lady that played Miss Kitty, Amanda Blake, she died young. Boy, every young boy loved Kitty. Never even thought about the name Kitty. What kind of species is a kitty? Mm-hmm. That was Mr. Dillon's kitty. Wow. No, I think you got two different characters there. Chester was not. He was not Barney. Barney Fife was not Chester. Barney was a good cop on Andy Griffin's show. He was the guy that had that high pitched voice that everybody loved. Everybody loved. Oh man. I liked him when he played in Three's Company. He played in Three's Company. He was the apartment owner. He was a manager over the building there, and he was always trying to throw them three out of the apartment because of the shenanigans. He didn't want them young people pulling shenanigans. Yeah, old Barney, he got himself in trouble one time. He was pulling truck drivers over because he was doing 36 miles per hour in a 35 zone. Yeah, Mr. Furley. Yeah, that's at the Three's Company. And old Andy really got so mad. He said, they have to get a run at that hill for them to make it up over the hill there. And he was arresting them out there for going a mile over the speed limit. He always had to straighten. Old Barney, he always wanted to get that bullet out of his shirt pocket. He was issued one bullet to be used only in a case of emergency. Yeah. Yeah, they was just some really good writing in that show, and everybody looked forward to it. When I was a kid, a show that would compare to that as far as having a great following was the Amos and Andy show. The Amos and Andy show, Freeman Godston and Charles Corral played the two characters on the radio. And the Amos and Andy show, they had a character in there called Kingfish. And he was always having a little bit of hard time with his wife, always trying to pull something over on her. And Sapphire. Holy mackerel, Sapphire. Uh, and they had Andrew J. Calhoun. He was a prominent attorney. And they belonged to the Mystic Knights of the Sea Lodge. And Andy one time got a promotion, and he did not know what the promotion was. And he comes to the Kingfish and he said, I just got a promotion in the Mystic Knights of the Sea Lodge. He said, well, tell me, Andy, what was the promotion? He said, I'm the Punjab of Jabberpole. Because they basically was from the Middle East, the group that they belonged to. And he was going to be the Punjab of Jabberpole. And the old Kingfish said, Andy, you as dumb as a rock. Everybody knows the job of the Punjab is the pole to Java. That's the reason they call you the Punjab of Jabberpole. You pull the Java in the cup. They did it in a kind of a sort of forbidden language today, ethnic language. And just when you thought it couldn't get any better, along come a guy named Archie Bunker. And Archie changed the whole world. He had Meathead for a son-in-law, Pollock. And he had Jews and Kikes and Wops and Dagos, and he was surrounded by them. He lived there in, I think, Queens, New York, and he was surrounded by them. And then along come George Jefferson. And when George Jefferson showed up, yeah, all in the family. When George Jefferson showed up there, that done throw the monkey wrench in the whole works there, you know. Yeah, moving on up to the east side, Louisiana. That gentleman just died here recently. The man, Amos, John Amos, I believe it was, played the husband. You know, his one of his kids was that kid, Dynamite. Yeah, we watched all of them. We did not miss any of them. And we even like, what you be talking about, Willis? You know, with that white doctor had them two sons, two little black children he was raising up, and there was always something going on. Yeah, when George Jefferson moved on up to the east side there, when he left, he got his own show, and then he got another show. He was like a pastor at some kind of a church. He was deacon. We can't laugh anymore, you know. If you do it, insult somebody. You can't refer to somebody that eats chicken is going to enunciate your ethnicity. It's going to determine what ethnic people you're from. If you eat watermelon, if you eat chicken, if you eat tacos, you know you're a Mexican. And and all of us love tacos. I do. I'm a taco eater. You hell, I've never met any Mexican food I don't like. Well, it turned things around from the, where you just sit and listen to the jokes from the comedians versus you was watching and you had an opinion about each character in that show. And you had when you walked away at the end of the day, you're still the same person, even though it was comedy that was beyond the realm of just sitting here waiting for the next funny line. Their actions and behaviors in the show itself led you into a belly laugh where you really enjoyed um, what was going on. And you'd find yourself the next day in your fellow workers around you quoting lines from moving on up to the east side, quoting lines from all the different shows that you watched at that time, especially Archie Bunker. You'd call your fellow workers meathead, you know. I met two brothers on a fishing boat, and they were really big guys. And we got to telling jokes, and I started telling all my Polak jokes. And this one big one says to me, I don't I don't know if you know this, but me and my brother were Polacks. We're Polish. I said, You're Polish? And I've been telling all these jokes. And he said, Yeah, we're Polish. I said, Well, excuse me. I'll talk slower. Oh, I mean, it was a scary moment. What I was trying to say is I was speaking too fast, and I know you being Polish, you can't understand what I'm saying, so I'll speak slower. They was so good. They was good natured people. They loved it. We had a good time. We drank a lot out on this big boat, and and we remained friends for many years. That's when you could laugh. That's when you could have a brother, a black guy, somebody that you could. Well, I had a young engineer. He came from Slidell, Louisiana. He went to the University of Louisiana, and he come out and he joined our team. And as we worked together 2 or 3 years, um, he asked me, he said, do you ever tell any ethnic jokes? And I said, well, there's a company policy about telling ethnic jokes. He said, I know there's a policy about it, but he said, we do a lot of jokes in our community when we're sitting around. We do a lot of joking, you know. And he said, you don't know any ethnic jokes? I said, sure, I know them. I just don't tell them. He said, please tell me an ethnic joke. And I said, I looked around, there's nobody but him and I know that he's not going to attack me. I said, so let me ask you this. I asked you a question. I said, what has 6 legs and goes, hold-a-do, hold-a-do, hold-a-do? He said, what? I said, what has 6 legs and goes, hold-a-do, hold-a-do, hold-a-do? He said, hell, I don't know. I said, it's 3 black men running to the elevator. Hold-a-do, hold-a-do. I had to explain it to him. See, you lose a lot in translation when you explain. And one, it's because I was doing it in my ears, ethnic sound. Hold the dough, hold the dough, hold the door. You know how people stick their hand in the door so the door won't close. Uh, you know, and so when the 3 black guys run into the elevator, they'd say, hold the door, hold the door. Well, they did it in ethnic voice would be, hold the door, hold the door, hold the door. And that has all gone now. People are way too sensitive to tell anything now because it would be, well, it would violate some kind of a sensitivity rule or something. So that's the reason we've always avoided getting into those areas. Because my job is not to make you feel incensed about nothing. It's make you feel good about yourself. All right, I'm going to tell you what happened there. So I tell him the joke, and he laughed and laughed and laughed because he had never had anybody, hello, Tom Bailey, to tell him an ethnic joke. A few months goes by, and he brings me this biggest black guy I've ever seen. Looked like a linebacker, man. This guy was that wide across his shoulders, big old pythons for arms, and didn't have no neck at all. And he come walking over there, and he brings him over to me, and he said, "That's my friend from Chicago."
Hold him for a minute.
And he had just got in, and he said, I was telling him about you, and I wanted him to meet you.
Okay.
I'm talking to some people.
I know that's what I'm going to. Okay. Because I have no clue what's going on. Come on. We're going to go wait.
So he said, could you tell Shawanda here, or whatever his name was, that joke you told me? I said, what joke are you talking about? He said, you know, the joke about, he done his finger like running. I already knew what joke he wanted me to tell. Angelique had to come in and get him hooked up to take the dog outside. So I thought, oh my God, I don't want to tell this big old guy, because he's from Chicago. He's going to have a different temperament than the gentleman from Slidell, Louisiana. It's just a different, Southern people have a brotherhood, amongst all of the people that live in the South. We have survived the humidity of the South, and so we can get along in almost in any situation. So I told him the joke, and then he looked at me and he said, is that how you hear us when we speak? And I told him, no. I said, I told it in the way that it was told to me because it was Southern people that was running to the elevator, Southern black men. And they have a Southern accent. And then he started laughing. And then we all laughed. Yeah, Leroy Brown. The joke was, Thomas, you said you missed a joke there, is what has 6 legs and goes ho-da-do, ho-da-do, ho-da-do? And the answer was 3 black men run into the elevator. Ho-da-do, ho-da-do, ho-da-do. Anyhow. So, Thomas, did you hear about back in the late 1800s, the president of the United States wanted a drawing, an oil painting of the Custer's Last Stand. He wanted to hang it prominently in the White House so when visitors come, you could see the American soldier fighting to the last man at Little Bighorn. And he commissioned the world's finest, American finest Western painter, I believe his name is Remington, to do this painting of Custer's Last Stand. Have a good day, Robert. Come on back when you get a chance. So they commissioned him. All the money was settled on how much it's going to cost to do the painting. And so it was granted. And months goes by, and finally the word came out that the painting was ready to be displayed to the senators and the congressmen of the United States so they could see this beautiful painting that this great artist, Western artist, done to be hung in the Capitol forever. And so they unveiled it, pulled it back. And the scene, as far as you could see, up over the rise, over the hills, down in the valleys, there were Indians making love all over the scene. Some was doing it dog style, missionary style, 69s, you name it. All that stuff was going on the screen, and everybody was. And over there on the left was a cow with a halo around its head. And everybody looked at the Indians, and they couldn't take their eyes off the Indians. And it was just mesmerizing. But they saw the cow with the halo, and so it was all sitting in quietness. And the president of the United States asked the painter if he could describe what they were seeing of Custer's Last Stand. And he said, well, it's pretty straightforward. The cow with the halo around its head, one of the generals that was with Custer, he turned to Custer and said, holy cow, look at them effing Indians. They keep coming and coming and coming. Holy cow, look at them effing Indians. Too early in the day to use the real word, but you get the gist of it. That was his painting. That was his conception of Custer's last stand. The Indians just kept coming. Well, did we go dead? Am I off the air? Or do I need to explain that one? Yes, he did. He found that out the hard way. Well, gentlemen, I'm going to stay on to 12 o'clock. So we've got 7 minutes to either say it and get it off your chest or do like I'm going to do. I got to go and get the lunch started. And Angelique just come back from walking the dogs. Did Theo go out?
Yeah, I just took him.
Okay. Well, I guess nobody's upset about nothing. We've only got one viewer in here, so that would be Thomas Bailey. Everybody else has already abandoned ship. They're hungry. They're eating right now. They're bologna and cheese or fried spam and red tomatoes or spaghetti, fried chicken. I'm having chicken. I already said that. That'd be chicken for me today. I'm gonna have a glass of sweet tea. No, that's right. I think I said I was going to have a Yingling. I'm going to have a bottle of Yingling and teriyaki chicken. No, this has been going on for a little while. We're coming up in 3 minutes on the 2-minute mark, on the 2-hour mark. And it's hard to hold an audience for 2 hours. It ain't hard for me to talk for 2 hours, but for them to listen for that long, I mean, you got to have some. You got to be really lonely. Only the lonely. At nighttime, I draw a different crowd of people. You got I'll Make You Uncomfortable. He'll be on there, Robin, and you never know. It's like holding a 220 lightning, a 220 electric wire in your teeth. You know, you never know when it's going to bite you. Well, I'm glad you got at least checked in here for a little while. And but we will probably do this again, not today, because there's a lot of lives that goes on Thursday evening. But I always try to squeeze in mine in between shifts. I miss the Australian people at this time of the day because it's already midnight over there, after midnight. Hey, Mother. I was telling them I'll be signing off here in 4 minutes. Make sure I don't interfere with anybody else. And I just had a little spare time, and I didn't see anybody else on, so I thought I would hop on and Moto's already made a commute. He's already made a commute into work. You know, I don't have any tattoos, but if I did have a tattoo, I've already decided what I want for a tattoo. You might listen to this because it might inspire others to do this. As I will probably have the tattoo artist to tattoo a picture of a dollar bill on my penis. And that would give me a chance to watch my money grow. I saw that. I thought it was just a horrible tragedy. They have been crossing over that water in training flats, but this was a training flat. Motobomb, you are the best, man. Yeah. That's one aspect I had not even thought about. Yeah. Oh man, that was so funny. Oh, the sad part about the tragedy there is that's a crossing, but it's in the flat path and the landing, and there's going to be a big investigation over this. You know, you lost I think three military personnel plus all hands on the commercial flight, and so sad. I mean, and I heard every word. The air traffic controller was talking to the helicopter, and he asked him, "Do you see the airplane that they talked about?" And he said, "Yes, I do." And he said, "You're cleared to fly behind the commercial flight," and he flew right into it. If he saw it, I don't understand how he flew into it. I mean, there's not a conspiracy here. No, no, no. For whatever the case may be, I don't know. He probably set a route that he thought would be put him in behind the airplane. It was dark. Yeah, she blew pretty close to the computer time, the atomic clock. Yeah, the commercial plane was all lit up. I mean, it was bright. But he also had just moments before said, "I will." He was given clearance to fly behind because he said, "Do you have that flight in sight?" And he said, "Yes, I do." And he said, "Then you have the clearance to go behind," and boom, it was all over with. Uh, I really hate that. I really do. We've seen so many tragedies in the Potomac area. You remember 10 years or more ago, a plane took off and they had just de-iced it, but then they held him for 3 more hours after the de-icing, and more ice built up on the wings, and he was too heavy, and he flew and hit that bridge and went into the Potomac. And they had bodies all out there and survivors. A lot of people survived it, and they was out there and rescuing people horribly injured in frigid water. I don't have any answers, but they'll have an investigation over it. And I don't want to see any harm come to the military pilots because they were in training. But I think they got to look at somehow not landing in, do not fly across the landing zone. Yeah, there was such, what you mean, the color high definition of the camera crew that was pulling people out of the water in the Potomac was, it had everybody just stuck in their seats there because that was horrendous. Just thinking about the cold, freezing water and people out there trying, and people coming, people on the shore swimmed out in the water in that freezing water and got a hold of people. I mean, there's courage, man, I'll tell you. We don't know what we would have done. You don't either. You may have been one of the very first person into the water. When that time comes, you know what you've got inside you. Well, I said we was going to shut her down, and I will. Bodo, I've got to go in and get my chicken started. The chickens are prepared, but I got to do the rest of the stuff to bring it all together. We're having teriyaki chicken. I used to love that song, Please Mr. Custard. If you ever heard it, if you haven't heard it, look up Please Mr. Custard. There's an Indian out there fixing to take my hair. A coward I've been called, but I don't want to end up dead or bald. Please, Mr. Custer, I don't want to go. Yeah, I saw that too. Yep, got to go, buddy. I promise she's already been in here twice, and I know she's getting hungry. And I love you guys. Take care. God bless you. And we will be seeing you here soon. Bye bye.